Time now for me to review episode 5 of Star Trek Starfleet Academy. We're halfway through season 1. This episode focuses on our favourite character, the photonic female Sam, and the episode also includes the return of 3 Deep Space Nine characters. 2 of them appear on screen, and one of them as a voiceover. And the episode attempts an explanation as to what happened to Captain Benjamin Cisco. Spoiler, they don't actually explain it, which is a good thing. So, series acclamation mill. Why are those words the words that make up the abbreviation of SAM? They couldn't have come up with something better than series acclamation mill? Whatever. Firstly, she speaks directly to the camera, breaking the fourth wall. And she gives us a voiceover about how unique she is, how there's only one of her. Oh, and Jaden, the Klingon guy, he's fully embraced himself and who he is. He's wearing a skirt now. So, every episode is just a continuous race to the bottom. No, no pun intended. No pun intended. Yeah, so Sam, she's discussing her life, what she's doing at the academy. And she has a responsibility to her people, which is to report back on everything she can learn about organics. And she explains that Darum, he's Kionian, and he's allergic to potassium. So when he eats a banana, for example, as a food challenge, he vomits. And as if to illustrate just how effeminate and slay queen this show is, he vomits glitter. Yes, Kionians, when they vomit glitter. Because of course they do. Remember, someone thought this show was a good idea. Anyway, in an effort to understand more about organics, Sam enrolls in a course called Confronting the Unexplainable, which is run by a Cardassian character played by Lower Decks' Tawny Newsome, who also co-wrote this episode with Kirsten Beyer. And of course, she speaks, once again, with contemporary millennial-era dialogue, despite being an alien in the 32nd century. Her true identity will be revealed at the end of the episode. So Sam's project is to figure out what happened to Benjamin Cisco. So Sam explains, using a child's cartoon picture book, the story of Deep Space Nine and Benjamin Cisco. The main characters are all divided as to what happened to him. Caleb thinks he's dead, but Sam decides to go to a Bajoran shrine to get the opinions of Bajoran people. And a Bajoran man there asks her, "Are you of Bajor?" Interesting question, considering I guess it used to mean, "Are you Bajoran?" at one point. Maybe Bajor is now super diverse at this point, and Bajoran doesn't mean what it used to mean. Maybe Bajoran just means like you've got Bajoran citizenship or something. Because it should be fairly obvious from looking at Sam that she doesn't have nose ridges and clearly cannot be genetically Bajoran. I mean, she can't be genetic at all because she's a hologram, but you get my point. She doesn't look like a Bajoran. Meantime, this guy from the War College is hosting some diplomat, so there's a B-plot with him and Ake. I will say, I do find it very difficult at times to understand every word Holly Hunter says. I just have to be honest. In every scene she's in, there's a few words that I cannot make out. And I will say as well, the same is true with Kerry Brooks, who plays Sam. At times, I find there's a few words in there that just, they don't sound enunciated correctly, okay? Whether it's an elocution thing, I don't know. There was a time on television where clear diction, clear pronunciation, and elocution were vital. I struggle at times to understand all of the dialogue. That's a major problem, right? Also, as with previous episodes, the show is once again shot, performed, and written in that fast-paced, quirky, comedic manner. Rapid fire, quippy dialogue, quick cuts, and often there's incidental music playing in the background. This is a lot like a cartoon in tone. It's distracting, tiresome, and can cause you to lose the narrative thread because the show is so style over substance that you miss important details. You miss some of the things the characters are communicating. Not that anything happening on screen is ever important on this show, but anyway, regardless, every scene irritates me to one degree or another. And the entire B plot isn't interesting. It's just filler. It's really just, it feels like filler. It's not funny, even though it really tries to be. It's just bad. There's nothing more to be said about it. Now, Sam remotely accesses the Benjamin Cisco Museum using a virtual access portal. She sees various personal items belonging to Cisco, and there's a Bajoran orb. For some reason, Benny Russell's typewriter is in there, which makes no sense because it didn't belong to Cisco, and that typewriter, like Benny Russell, only existed in another reality. But whatever, since when does logic matter on this show? She accesses a recording of Jake Cisco, played by Cirroc Lofton. He talks about his father. Sam doesn't really learn anything especially interesting, I will say that. The cadets take her to a bar in San Francisco that Cisco used to go to, apparently. Caleb programs Sam so she can experience being drunk. Jaden, the Klingon, flirts with that guy from the War College, because of course they do. Is anyone actually straight on this show? So then we're subjected to minutes and minutes of Sam acting drunk, shouting randomly, saying incomprehensible slurred drunk words, talking about Cisco and love or something, and then of course her dancing. I don't know what any of this has to do with the plot anymore, but there's stuff happening on screen, and I think this is why the ability to watch video at 2 times speed was invented. 2.5 speed is best for this episode, however. They get into a bar fight. That happens. Now, during the course of this show, Stephen Colbert plays a computer announcement voice, and you hear him throughout the series. And he's always making these jokes in the background. In this episode, he says, "Attention cadets, Academy Explorers has announced a trip to Muir Woods. If you'd like to see some of the oldest and most majestic trees on Earth, be at the transfer arches at 0600 hours tomorrow morning for some morning wood. Ha 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 ha." Seriously, these are actual lines of dialogue on Star Trek. Everything about this show is just a massive insult to the franchise, its legacy, intelligence, script writing, science fiction, fiction in general, Gene Roddenberry, and of course the fans. We get another scene with Jake Cisco. He speaks directly to Sam when she reads his book, Anselm, which he apparently finally finished. He speaks about his father and his role as the emissary. His role was predetermined by the prophets, which Sam doesn't like. She feels that that's similar to her role as an emissary for her people. But Jake explains that Cisco did things his way and he made his own choices. It's fine. And then Tawny Newsom's character turns out to be Dax. Yeah, she's Dax in the future. So in the end, Cisco, as in Benjamin, voiced by Avery Brooks, is in the episode. He gives a closing epilogue. We hear his voice. He says, "Divine laws are simpler than human ones, which is why it takes a lifetime to be able to understand them. Only love can understand them. Only love can interpret these words as they were meant to be interpreted." And then the end says, "Thank you, Avery." Now, apparently that dialogue is a recording from an Avery Brooks album. Incidentally, Avery Brooks retired from acting back in around 2013 or so. I don't think this episode has anything particularly special to say. I don't know how Sam was supposed to learn anything profound about Cisco's life or the prophets. There's some vague, wishy-washy talk about his ability to love or something. There's no actual deeper meaning, merely the appearance of meaning in this episode. So let's get all of this clear. Sam goes to a bar, gets programmed to be drunk, starts a fight, and claims that she's somehow learned something about Cisco? I'm scratching my head wondering what was the point of all of this. So the episode has some trite love conquers all message, which isn't highbrow or intelligent. It's childish and vapid. They may as well have called the episode Live, Laugh, Love. It's so cliched. There's no mature, important lesson for these young adults to grapple with. They're not learning anything about life or how to be cadets or how to be adults in the world. These characters are all personality, confidence, and attitude without an ounce of humility or substance. The characters are also hard to relate to and generally insufferable. After 5 episodes, I still don't like any of them. In much the same way as Star Trek Discovery, crying and talking about love and feelings is not smart writing. It's not a shortcut for personal and professional development for characters. It's also not intellectual or interesting. It's not worthy of Star Trek. This is lazy, unsophisticated, and empty writing. So that was episode 5 of Star Trek Starfleet Academy. I felt that this episode served as a cheap attempt at a connection with Deep Space Nine, likely for nostalgia bait, because nothing came of Sam's search for Cisco. We don't learn whether he's still alive in the Celestial Temple or whether he's dead by now. And that's a good thing that they didn't try to answer it, because there's no way these writers could have done it justice. But still, this tribute to Deep Space Nine didn't work for me, especially when considering Sam's story arc doesn't in any way measure up to that of Cisco's. Those are my thoughts on episode 5 of Star Trek Starfleet Academy. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, hit that notification bell to be notified of future updates. Share the video out there. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.